contest more neutrals in the early game. Ideally, they play through mid. That is such an important lane to find advantages in. And
ooh, we banned the Lulu from blue side. Maokai's still floating around, so a bunch of power picks here to trade.
So a couple things I want to immediately point out. Remember, C9 and GENG swapping sides for this one. Like you just said, that Lulu's banned away, Ahri banned away, just like it was last time in the first phase. GENG back to banning Nautilus. Remember, game number 1 of this series was the first time in the tournament that GENG hadn't banned the pick. They played it, they have a 100% win rate on it, now they're back to banning it away.
So the risk you now have is, do you lock in Aphelios and then give away K'Sante Jinx, or do you guarantee the K'Sante for yourself at the risk of giving away the Aphelios? And the answer to that is, we want the K'Sante. We'll take the Jinx trade in this match.
Honestly, I agree too.
Oh! I love this from GENG. So far at this MSI, we have not seen Pays play the Xayah, but career-wide, this is definitely something he's very comfortable on.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take a look. How aggro do we want to get with it? Berserker did have a Draven game in the LCS that completely popped off. Toying with our hearts right now, trying to mix up this AD carry meta that has been the same. Okay, we at least get some excitement here. The Lucian Nami duo. Very aggressive here, trying to play off of that one item power spike. We saw a lot of these LPL AD carries playing it so effectively in the mid game, and that's where a lot of this value was missing in both North America and Europe when teams ran this duo, is trying to take advantage of that window where you just got Gale Force, you just got the Mandate, and you have so much burst potential. Culling's continuously used to chunk people off and really trying to gain some momentum there for the mid-game objectives.
And the final pick of the first half of the draft for GENG will be the Wukong. This is the only champion Peanut has played more than once so far in the tournament. 3 plays already. The man is ferocious on it. And now we're going to see how the second half of the bans go through. Remember, both sides already have marksmen, already have supports, but the K'Sante versus Wukong means things are not entirely mirrored. Poppy banned out by GENG. They learned last game that Blabber is more than willing to play this, especially against Rakan and Wukong. The area denial, the engage resistance of that steadfast presence is something that you've got to be respectful of. They're going to take it off the table this time. C9 is saying, okay, you guys definitely didn't live up to the skill check last game. We're going to ban out a champion that can't fail a skill check. Let's get rid of the Malphite, take that off of the table, and one more ban remains for both sides.
I wonder if GENG will consider something like, I was going to say something like the Kindred, but they are going to look to remove the Kennen, some of that team fighting power. Perhaps they believe that with the Malphite ban, that was the direction that C9 was looking for, because remember, this K'Sante can be flexed into both mid and top. That is the beauty of this K'Sante. And then GENG, they're going to be forced to lock in either their mid or top now. So something like the Gragas is something that C9 should consider getting rid of, but the Lissandra will actually be removed.
Yep, and I misspoke. It was actually C9 themselves banning away the Malphite. My bad on that one, but that is a powerful engage tool that could go along with the Rakan, with the Wukong drafted by GENG. Lissandra, also another effective point-and-click engage mechanism, and it'll be Sion drafted next for GENG.
And that's why Cloud9, they don't even bother banning away that Gwen, even though they have the K'Sante, you know, and you're looking at these common picks into it, because they know GENG want to play that standard with Doran on a tank on the top side and go with the same controlled game plan. It's up to Cloud9 to try and actually upset that this time around.
I mean, I think if the K'Sante goes mid, I'm more fine with the Kha'Zix, but I don't love LeBlanc, because there's a real world where GENG can actually put the Sion mid, and then you just neutralize the impact of the LeBlanc. Very difficult to actually play through that lane early, and then you just match something else on the top side, perhaps another carry, but in terms of damage, oh, hang on a second, are we going to get to see Chovy's?
The Vex counter here into the LeBlanc. Try and get those fears, pop them out of the dashes.
Oh, we are.
Yes, we will. All right, GENG calling out C9 there. The Vex counter pick versus the LeBlanc. Silver lining on the LeBlanc for Cloud9. This is an undefeated pick for M&S and Cloud9 in LCS Spring here in 2023. So they're going back to comfort. They're saying put him on what he knows, put him on what he's best at, but having to measure up against a counter pick piloted by Chovy is tough.
The thing is, too, with this Vex counter pick, this is not like a slam you into the ground counter pick. You can overwhelm this counter pick with jungle attention. Vex does not have any escapes of her own, so if you bring junglers for early ganks, you can try and abuse the long flash cooldown on this champion and actually help out the LeBlanc a lot, even though if you leave them isolated, then it is kind of annoying.
Career-wise, Chovy doesn't have a huge number of Vex games, but of the 3 that he has, 100% win rate. The man is very successful at pretty much anything that he plays.
Yeah, and if we're talking about win rates, okay, I'll throw out some Zaya stats here for Pays too. He's 70% win rate, so the percentages, yeah, they're not looking great for us, but they've won a lot of games, okay?
All right, so one thing we saw in game number 1 was a focus from GENG towards that top side, and also a lot of attention on the neutral objectives. If you're Cloud9 and you're trying to bounce back after that speedy victory in game number 1, are you trying to counter that? Are you putting all eggs in the bot lane basket? What's the play?
No, to me, if you're picking LeBlanc and Kha'Zix, you're picking MNS signature champion. Blabber, get to mid lane, gank this Vex, try and take advantage of this champion. Low mobility, burn the flash, get some kills, get MNS to the point where he can actually have some mid lane agency to then go down bottom lane. And then once your LeBlanc is fed, as a jungler, you're so happy because you get a partner in your ganks and you can play off of a Lucianami during their one-item power spike timer.
I mean, this comp from C9 is just much harder to execute than what we saw last game. If we compare game 1 to game 2, game 1 was very much about making sure that you're cross-mapping, moving on the map, correct lane assignments. This one is a lot more about skirmishing, early fights, 2v2s, 3v3s, and that applies to both sides. When you have things like Rakan, Wukong, you have so much agency in the early game to look for picks, even play through mid yourself if you wanted to try and shut down this LeBlanc. That C9, as proactive as they want to be, they have to be cautious that GENG can very much look to do the same.
Yeah, the comps that want more volatility are always so much more difficult to play. The ones that need to get some execution-based kills, some execution-based plays off to their side. Cloud9 here, sweeping back into their own side of the jungle. MNS goes back, he picks up the sweeper. He gets the golden experience for this, so as far as trying to get LeBlanc some leverage versus the Vex, you get a very tiny bit there. He's on the board, at least for a little bit. But the game plan from GENG, you can tell they know this as well. That's why they're warding towards the Raptors.
And immediately they go in at level 1. Sven forced to flash back away as Delight goes for the engage. The Zyra Rakan level 1, very powerful with how these champions synergize, and GENG is not afraid to flex that.
Look at the pathing here from Peanut. He started Raptors into Blabber's blue. He doesn't have prio anywhere. He just has information as to where Blabber started. The fact that he started on the red buff gave him all the information that he needs, that he's doing a full bot side clear. And the question is, how will Blabber respond? Delight taking a lot of damage.
Delight, it's at 200 HP here. Pays about 350 for him. GENG's bottom lane duo forced back underneath the turret as Cloud9 fights back. All 4 players in this bottom lane still level 1.
And Blabber finishing up Krugs as well here on the Kha'Zix on bottom side. Looks like he might trail through here. Again, you mentioned the information discrepancy between these two teams. Really benefiting Peanut as he was able to counter jungle pretty heavily on that blue quadrant. And the hover here from Blabber is mainly to guard against, if Peanut had done a normal clear, he could be looking at ganking our extended bottom lane, but he's not. So Blabber's going to be very, very sad here on the Kha'Zix, having gone and spent a few seconds to hover bottom lane and protect them, delays his recall, then he'll go find his blue and his Gromp have been taken.
Especially with a flashless Sven, means that bot lane was definitely a lane for Peanut to look for. Overall though, Chovy getting a bit of push in the mid lane. LeBlanc doesn't have the strongest push at early levels, but usually that's where she wants to try and look to trade, but trading against a Vex can be very challenging during the early levels.
And MNS making good use of that sweeper, finds the other ward. That ward is placed because GENG know after they've been able to kind of push Blabber into this top side. Now he's going to reveal himself as well. He just popped the Scryer's Bloom, so everybody knows exactly where he is. Top and bottom Scuttle Crabs will be traded.
Okay, Peanut will pick that one up down there shortly after Blabber has already finished this one in the top side. Just fires that Scryer's Bloom into the enemy jungle. Sees the Krugs are still up. Decides to go ahead and leap over, farm those up. Doran is dealing with the wave being shoved up underneath his own turret right now. As you can see, the GENG bot lane has taken their first recall. Berserker and Sven gonna need to now do that themselves after they clear out those last couple of minions. Blabber finishing up the Krug camp here. Fudge and Doran both running pretty low on all resources here. Health bars, mana bars, mostly expended.
Yeah, and I think Blabber here, after he got the information in Scryer's Bloom, he sees the second spawn of Raptors as well. You know, he's not too sad. He knows that Peanut went to do the guarding of his own blue quadrant after the counter jungling, so Blabber will be able to get the GENG second spawn of Raptors, no problem here.
Chovy's recall interrupted there by M&S, just trying to make these timers as uncomfortable as possible. The wave is still pushing towards M&S, so he is going to need to clear this out, farm this up. Chovy will be able to recall just slightly more delayed than he would have preferred, as Sven cannot stop that wave from being shoved up underneath the turret. But Berserker gets back to lane in time, doesn't even miss that first melee minion, should be able to pick all of these up.
Now, as far as the Kazakhs goes, the majority of the games now, you're going to want to evolve Q. There are some angles where you really want to take advantage of our ganks, and a Vex mid could be one of those. I still think he's going to evolve Q, but there is an angle to try and R-evolve, because then you are into lane.
Oh, they wanted to find the knockup with the grand entrance, but it didn't work. Now Pays is down to 200 HP. GENG, you can see exactly what they wanted there, but just slightly off with the targeting means Cloud9 ends up smacking him upside the mouth.
Really good trade from Berserker. If he'd had level 4, I wonder if that would have been enough damage to actually at least force a summoner spell out from Pays. They get the Ignite out at the very least, but now Peanut is here to cover. And you can see Chovy on the roam as well. Level 6 on the Vex. Blabber in a position to...
Oh, there we go. That's the grand entrance we're looking for. Sven's called out, and it's Peanut getting the first blood. And Berserker tries to shoot back, but he won't get a whole lot. And Chovy's still following up from the side. Blabber's occupied with the Vex, and C9 are down 0-1.
Yep, even Chovy coming down. Blast code over the top. GENG going to be able to shove this one in. They strike first. First blood acquired.
Just a good response from Peanut as Pays. He's not too afraid that doesn't force the flash. But yeah, if Blabber was aware that this gank was happening, then he could have been in a position to counter, maybe even threaten Pays on the backline, and then perhaps there's a world where Cloud9 can turn that around. But with Chovy also on the rotation down, had that fight gone any longer, it very much could have been much worse for C9. So while Berserker playing the trades very well, Peanut finding more presence on the map.
All right, on the reset though, after the kills and shoving in the lane, because they're so low, Blabber's going to rotate over to Dragon. And even though he's only level 5, doesn't have his Q evolve on the Dragon, so it'll take a lot longer. They're still going to try and power it down here with the Nami.
Here.
But because, yeah, it is taking so long, Mountain Drake.
Light goes in for the grand entrance. Sven again in trouble. Chovy looking for the kill on the Nami this time as the Drake is secured by the side of Cloud9. And Sven barely escapes. The flash had just come back up off the cooldown for Sven to get away and not give away a second death.
Yeah. The combination of only being level 5 and it being a Mountain Drake takes a long time. Cloud9, they do sneak out though. As you mentioned, Sven, no summoner spells now. Peanut fishing around to see if they can get anything out of it. And it looks like Cloud9 got away just in the nick of time.
Blabber. That was a little dangerous face checking that brush. He had no support there. And another good trade from Chovy in the mid lane. You can really see how well Vex does into a highly mobile champion like the LeBlanc. But Blabber will now have his top side to clear. And at the end of the day, they walk away with the Dragon. It was a bit risky in terms of the timing, as you highlighted, Kobe, because it was dropping so slowly with no presence from Berserker. It could have been another opportunity for GENG, but for now, they'll reset back on the map, claim what objectives they can, and the gold largely remains neutral.
All right, Blabber still working towards that level 6. Peanut doing the same, but of course, like you were talking about, Kobe, for the Kazakhs, it means a whole lot more. Just getting those evolutions, being able to speed up the clear time, being able to have that extra isolated bonus as back in bottom lane. Level 5 versus level 5 all the way around, except for Sven, who's still sitting at level 4 on this Nami, paying the price of losing out on that EXP and everything that he was around before when he dropped, as well as having to go back to base again after nearly being killed for the second time from Chovy's Vex. Both bottom laners continuing the trade as the culling is dropped. Delight eats some of the damage. Berserker wants to maximize it, but doesn't get a whole lot.
Okay, Blabber is level 6 here for the Kazakhs, so try and R in onto Chovy, save your jump for after the fear, after the flash. He did go with the Q evolve, so it's not a super long R.
Yeah, nothing there.
There was a window there, though, with the fear gone from Chovy. I thought that they could perhaps just W in, look for a chain, but instead throws the chain out and it goes wide. The awkward situation right now for both sides is that the Herald is up, but because of the relatively late Dragon start, neither team wanted to send their bot lane up, so there's no support here. It's just a battle between junglers.
Oh, Peanut looking to win this battle very quickly. Blabber gets away over the wall, but a flash follow from Peanut blends the bug, and GENG's jungler gets a solo kill at the Herald.
And Blabber tries to sneak it away. He sees that he has the push in top, but he's not expecting Peanut to just come over the wall and fight him. Wukong at level 6 as now Fudge goes in for the fight.
And immediately the fight fizzles. He wanted to go all out there, but just no angle to continue going after Doran. As the Scion just continues taunting him here a little bit.
Yeah.
Fudge can't do it.
I mean, Doran doesn't care because his jungler just 100% to 0 won the team fight versus your jungle. He's like, great, you're all out. I've got the jungler.
The leads continue to build now for Gen G. 2K is nearly the goal difference. A lot of that sitting in the favor of Peanut after securing that kill. He has a 1,000 gold lead, and there's a bit of a support difference, so perhaps that's not quite most reflective of the actual goal gap, but Peanut was able to get Blabber's number in game 1. He's doing the same thing here in game 2. He finds a successful gank in the bot lane. He secures his team the early Herald. And Gen G can just continue to take their time. They know that they're accruing small advantages where they can. And ultimately, we're looking at this next dragon before we really see any major action.
Yeah, Gen G with that 2-0 lead, and with Blabber not being able to get a whole lot done early on in these games, a lot of times when Cloud9 pops off, when Cloud9 is at their best, it's Blabber being one of the huge facilitators, one of the huge drivers of the action on the team, and if he's not feeling it, if he's not in that zone where he can get these things done, if he's not enabled, if he's not playing at his best, then it's difficult for the rest of the team to be able to make the same kinds of movements. Gen G looking to grab as much damage as they can on this second plate down here on the bottom lane, tier 1 turret. Gonna get it about halfway gone. Still 3 minutes left before those plates fall. That next Drake under 60 seconds. And you can see Peanut in the bot side river here as his bot lane is shoved up, crashing another wave into the turret. He'll be now moving towards mid. This dashes forward, finds a nice little bit of damage onto MNS. The auto attack follow-ups take the Cloud9 mid laner below half.
Really good damage there from Peanut, just chipping away at MNS. It wasn't even like a hard committed gank, it was just a small trade. And with Blabber on the top side of the map, with so much control from Peanut on the bot side, he may threaten a dive here. Instead, he's just going to commit to Herald.
Yeah, scary stuff for MNS.
And this is just so much pressure right before Dragon comes up. Peanut knows we got to get all of the potion charges out of MNS, get a bunch of damage, get the Rift Herald charge in before Dragon even spawns, and then Gen G can just rotate over to it. Blabber's here, but MNS is already chunked so low, they don't have real threat, and Gen G just bully them down.
All that's accomplished for Cloud9 was now not only is your mid laner at dangerously low health, so is your jungler, and that mid lane tier 1 turret is going to completely fall before the plates are even gone. Now once again, Fudge tries to go all out, and it's Doran trying to get away from the Cassante. He's not worried at all as he gets past underneath the turret, and you can see Berserker trying to escape from Paze and Delight. He fires the culling back into their backs as they try to retreat, but it's not going to mean a whole lot of consequence here for the Gen G bot lane. Both top laners down to just a sliver of HP, but nobody's going to die.
The beauty of what we saw, hang on, the action isn't over yet, is Gen G threatening the dive.
Gen G bringing down their jungler, their mid laner to go after Berserker. The fear into the spin of the knockup. The damage is true, and Chovy takes the kill. Gen G's at 3-0, make it 4. Peanut kills Blabber again, and Gen G are making game 2 even faster than the first time around.
That's some mid-jungle prio if I've ever seen Eddie Vedius. Bully down mid lane, chunk out both Cloud9's mid and jungle, so much so that they can't even play the map right now for Cloud9. Peanut and Chovy head on down bottom side after completely taking mid turret and chunking them out of the game. Then Berserker, nothing he can do here. Chovy wombo combo.
I mean, so this is the risk of the blind pick LeBlanc, but I didn't think that Gen G would take advantage of the severe lack of wave clear that LeBlanc has, right? A quick trade from Peanut says, oh, MNS is too low health. Typically, you want to trade health to try and get that priority in lane.
Yeah.
But after reducing MNS down to 50%, they were like, oh, hang on. She can't wave clear this wave anymore, and we can just keep poking her down at the end of the tower. Chovy landing so many skill shots. You highlighted it as well, Flowers, that they were just getting chipped away, that there was nothing C9 could do to prevent that tower. And the whole tower going down meant that they could very quickly translate to bot, and look at how quickly Gen G have blown this game open. 5K is now the difference.
And that's why I was trying to reach and look for crazy angles for Cloud9. It's like, all right, well, with this LeBlanc Kha'Zix, you have to do something, you know, to offset the normal pace of the game here, to upset Chovy and Peanut, to gank them earlier, get some sort of variables going here. Otherwise, they get chunked out, and man, after getting 100% to 0'd on the Rift Herald, you lose that jungle duel, plus you lose the Rift Herald, and Then GenG can use snowball using the Rift Herald to get Chovy his entire tower, and your Vex now roaming around threatening these super long range ultimate kills onto the side lanes. GenG once again have complete control of the map.
Not a single winning roll on the Rift for Cloud9 as we hit the 14-minute mark and finally see the turret plates collapse. Everfrost on the Vex, Divine Sunderer on the Wukong, Sunfire Aegis on the Scion, Gale Force for the Xayah as well. You can see Berserker's Lucian at least has his Gale Force completed, but one of the bigger differences in gold on that chart, the third highest was actually in the support role, plus 700. So Sven still not with his first item completed, means the Lucian Nami power spike is still waiting to come online, and even once it does, 5,000 gold. I know Lucian Nami is strong, but this is a serious problem for Cloud9.
I think the idea behind Lucian is that by running first strike and basically just trading a lot in lane, you can get towards that first item spike slightly earlier, right? You just get that slightly additional bit of gold injection, and if you get that early Herald as well, it means that you can further funnel that gold, and it's really at that like 2-item spike where Lucian can do so much work on the map. So if you stop that or slow it down dramatically and you're just staying on par with the Lucian as you enter the mid game, it becomes a lot harder to execute that. And GenG are doing just that. Look, they're going to convert this into a tier 1 tower as well. They're going to secure themselves the Rift Herald after swapping their bot lane up to top. They're then going to assign their bot lane to mid, so they're going to keep this mid control, and by unlocking the top tower, it gives them complete access into the enemy jungle.
We're just adding another "and" to the sentence over and over again. GenG is doing the top lane tier 1 and the Herald, and Peanut is forcing MNS out of his own jungle, and they've got better position around the map, and they've got better vision. Cloud9 is struggling to find any sort of a foothold here in this game, as Delight does get found out here in the enemy jungle. Berserker would have needed a couple more hits from that culling to kill him.
Cutting it a little close, but in the dark, he chooses up, Delight goes bottom. So no blood lost here for GenG. Honestly, it's just so hard now for Cloud9 to play the game. They have to start looking for those, fog of war, sneak into the brush, everybody trailing someone else on a side lane, surprise plays, because GenG have such control out of taking mid tower. If you ever have this happen that early into the game, and you've been in one of those games, it just feels so difficult because your mid lane is kind of a black hole here, and it's so vulnerable. Peanut might as well rename Wukong's staff to Bug Splat Stick, because if he ever finds Blabber, that's what's going to happen. 100% to 0, lays it down on him.
It's a situation where I think that when C9 play against Golden Guardians in that game 4, and they brought out the Varus, Heimerdinger, and Nidalee, where they were just like leveraging prio to really snowball the early game. I feel like that's the best approach you can take against a team like C9. And Kobe was talking about it in the draft. If you're running LeBlanc Kha'Zix, that's the concept behind this, right? That you can create that prio, you can create those advantages. But if you're just going to play a stock standard meta, laning macro game, GenG is like the best team in the world at playing that style.
Those are two assassins. You got to do some crazy stuff. That's why I'm like, okay, you know what? Even though 90% are Q evolves, do something crazy. Chovy here, now he's in enemy territory, chasing them out. And what we just saw on screen is what I'm talking about. When your mid tower's gone like that, Peanut's taking away your Raptors. You got these GenG players lurking around in Fog of War, and Cloud9 trying to desperately get some territory back for themselves. They've done it here. They chased them out. They've got zombie wards up, dragon coming. Even though they're pretty far behind in gold, they're looking for an angle.
Unfortunately, MNS's little bit of spells there can't even break the shield of the GenG top laner. And with that Drake alive on the Rift now, you have to assume GenG is just going to force Cloud9 back. It's so difficult for C9 to do anything in neutral territory, especially when your jungler's already dead. Chovy goes in and they find the kill with the help of Peanut, and they're going to make it 2 immediately. The kill onto the Nami. Another one comes through. The Cassante is down. Pays gets the kill, and Berserker runs for his life. The corrupting potion burns him away, and GenG wastes no time.
GenG slaughter Cloud9 on the Rift. A single pick onto Blabber results in 4 dead. The Herald as well doing so much damage. There's no way they're going for more.
They try to find a little bit more damage onto MNS. He returns fire towards Chovy. With only the mid laner and the support, they cannot guarantee the final kill towards Cloud9 there. But GENG, 8-0. These team fights are just slaughters.
This is brutal, gentlemen. I don't know if I can watch this. It's so painful. Cloud9 getting stomped here. All right, fishing around.
Is he gonna go for this?
Just keep your bait out of the water. Just go back to the boat.
When we get the replay, you're just going to notice that the most impressive thing about that play was the reaction speed from Chovy. Flash, W, fear. Just keep your eyes on Chovy in this play and just watch how the second Blabber oversteps, flash in, applies the fear, doesn't give him an opportunity, even interrupts the jump, and he's just chain CC'd. The moment that he's gone, this then engaged from Delight, the flash into knockup with the ultimate, and then the reset on Chovy's ult as well.
Yeah.
Means that it's just execution into execution. And we saw this in game one. C9 never really got an even fight, and it's the same thing here in game two.
Chovy sniping all 3 ultimates there off the resets, and GENG starting up Baron.
10,000 gold ahead already. Cloud9 knows they can't afford to give this away. It's going to be a snowball's chance in hell, but it's time to see if they can try to stop these guys. GENG with total control over the top side of the river. C9 at least has Scuttle Crab vision. That's about the only silver lining in this situation because it can't be removed by the side of GENG, as Chovy and Peanut will again lead the charge, looking for these picks, looking for any opportunity to explode the Cloud9 health bars. Chovy fires off a couple of spells. None of those are going to land, but the important thing is GENG has reclaimed this territory, this topside jungle of Cloud9.
But the important thing to note is, again, how GENG always play through their lanes first. They catch mid, push that in. They caught top and they push that in. They cleared out the jungle, and then they make it impossible for C9 to enter once again. They move back to the Baron, and they force C9 into this very awkward position.
Okay, eyes on Delight here on the Rakan. Has ultimate, has Hex Flash.
Sion engage coming out as Doran leads the charge. Not going to find the engage onto anybody in particular, but now he's soaking the damage out of everyone. GENG not finding that coherent engage they were looking for, but now they're just going to chase after Cloud9 with their advantage. Vex ulti goes wide. Peanut wants to find the knockup, but he's only found it on Fudge. MNS goes back in and he finds Delight before the quickness can ever be deployed. Chovy's going to be killed now next. Blabber grabs the kill, and Fudge tries to walk away. Peanut goes on a rampage, at least making it a 1-for-2. But GENG have lost the fight.
Cloud9, they get 2 shutdowns here. It is on Chovy, it is on Delight. They take away some of the control for GENG. As GENG, they split up the fight there in Cloud9. They finally attack, they finally see an opening, and they jump for it. MNS on the LeBlanc goes in, Berserker following.
GENG definitely got a little desperate there in that execution. You can see that they were just kind of throwing a lot of ultimates out, and the second that the flank from Delight was spotted out by Fudge, it became a lot harder for GENG to actually turn and fight. They will still walk away with the tier 2 tower. I feel like that there was a window there for C9 to actually threaten the Baron themselves, but they don't want to take the gamble. They will get some vision back as Delight immediately moves back out onto the map, but a small window for C9. They get their first set of kills in this game. The goal difference still gargantuan as 9,000 separates the teams.
And they've got 3 stacks on the Medjais for MNS. Is looking for the comeback play. This is kind of the mentality that you have to have though when you're so far behind like this. You have to put all of your eggs in a big comeback attempt, try and snowball off of something. So they're hoping if they can get a little bit, then they want to make the most out of a little opening like that, stack up some Medjai's pages maybe, and hopefully GENG will give you an
Fudge.
opportunity.
You don't realize how overextended you are, and GENG...
He's Cassante though, remember that.
I mean, true. Actually, he is going to walk away from this one. I thought that he would get collapsed on a little bit quicker, but this fog of war observers are highlighting it for us. GENG attack.
Why attack Cassante when you can just instantly kill the Lucian instead? GENG pick off the enemy AD carry, and it's right next to the inhibitor turret in mid lane. They'll knock that one down, no Baron required. They'll take the inhibitor with it, and they'll keep marching forwards. They've already got more waves pushing up down here in the bottom side. They can try to rotate over for a second inhibitor turret now, as C9 still has has 15 seconds before their marksman's back on the map. GENG just completely bulldozing these structures. Inhibitor down mid, inhibitor down bot. GENG exfiltrates with no problem.
It was a smart angle from GENG because they know Cloud9 are so worried about keeping vision on Baron.
Exactly.
But GENG don't need Baron to break inside your base. They can break inside your base with pure gold, the advantage that they have. And so they go in through this little angle here, cut back behind Berserker. They don't go after the Cassante because we've all seen Cassante escape with the multiple dashes from so many of these picks, and they get the easier and more valuable target.
Look at the positioning on the map right now for GENG. They have Wukong in mid, they have the Sion on what looks to be a very deep
Desperation
flank.
Baron, here we go!
Yep, it's a YOLO play from Cloud9. You only live once, they might not be living very long. C9 barely doing any damage to the Baron, just trying to get GENG to come over here. M&S dashes forward, immediately has to revert the distortion, and now C9's looking for the angle as Fudge goes over the wall, but Sven's under pressure. Peanut into the back line, already finding the kill on the Nami. Blabber barely escapes as Fudge is all the way off in no man's land. They've lost their jungler, they've lost their support, and Cloud9 is on the run. A teleport comes in, and Peanut wastes no time jumping right back onto Berserker. Pains with the flash over the wall aggressively. Berserker stands still and accepts death, and Chovy's happy to deliver. M&S tries to get back to the base. He and Fudge are the only ones still standing, and the GENG pain train is coming straight for the Nexus turrets. They got super minions escorting them in. Nexus turrets say goodbye. Cloud9, they've got a couple of guys left trying to defend, but the Nexus is open, and GENG's ready to wrap this one up real fast. They find another kill, and Cloud9's got nothing they can really do. It might have only been a LeBlanc clone, but the real one won't do much more. GENG's going to match point.
A desperation Baron from Cloud9. They saw the position that they were in. There was little that they could do to turn that game around, so they went for a last-ditch attempt, a last-ditch fight, and GENG, well, Peanut did it single-handedly. He dived onto the back line, killed the support, kept Berserker out of the fight completely, and then it was just cleanup. Complete dominance from GENG, and Peanut with a masterclass jungle performance once again.
He truly did make great use of the bug splat stick.
That he did.
We saw that bug splat many times throughout this game. GENG, yeah, complete dominance.
And that dominance started with that bug getting splatted up there at that Herald. The solo kill in the jungle got Peanut rolling. And honestly, he's just been outplaying Blabber so far in the first couple of games in this series. Cloud9 have not been able to get any sort of foundation to play from in either one of these first two games. And GENG just seems completely built different.
It's the fact that GENG have very reliable laners. You can clearly see that they're a very difficult unit to pick apart, and they just play around their lanes so well in terms of priority and objective setup. And this is